Hello, my name is Benjamin Carroll, and welcome to this episode of In the Garden. More and more gardeners are becoming aware of plants with winter interest. That is to say, plants that have an interesting characteristic that look good throughout the winter. Whether it be the dried, spent flowers, or perhaps a seed pod, could even be the beautiful bark of some trees. But in this case, it's the red stem dogwood, a beautiful shrub that has gorgeous red stems that look really bright and brilliant in the winter sunshine and look really good in the winter landscape. But in order to achieve these vibrant red stems year after year, you really do need to maintain your shrub. Let me show you how to do it. So it's important to have the correct tools for the job. In this case, I'm going to use some hand pruners or some secateurs, and also I have some loppers, some bigger pruning shears on hand for the bigger stems. Now remember that the red stem dogwood has beautiful red stems, and that's what we like about it for the winter interest. But it's the red stems that are the young growth, the 1 or 2 years of growth that look so wonderful. As the plant matures and gets older, the stems will start to get gray or brown and really lose that winter interest that we're looking for. So the first thing to do is to decide which branches are the ones that are going to go first. Of course, as I just said, any of the older ones, because they're starting to lose their color in the stems, so those are going to go first. But we're also looking for any branches that are dead or diseased. Anything that's dry, anything that's brown, totally brown, we know is dead, and we can remove that from the plant now. Another thing to think about is how much of the plant are we going to remove. It's really easy to think of this technique as being a 3-year cycle. So every year we're going to remove a third of the plant. And by a third, I don't mean the third of the height of the plant. I mean a third of the number of stems. So if there's 30 stems, then you're going to remove 10 this year. That'll push up some new growth, and then next year you can determine which 10 to remove and just keep that cycle going. If you do that year after year, you're ensured beautiful red stems every year. Like the red stem dogwood, the hydrangea paniculata really does benefit from a bit of a late winter, early spring pruning. And this plant also has some winter interest as well. And it's not the colorful stems this time, but it's the spent flower heads from this hydrangea that look good right through the winter. And you can see they're still looking good even this late in winter. Now it's okay to cut this plant back now, late winter, early spring, because its energy and its juices are still low in the plant. If we cut it later, after the plant is already flushed out with leaves, it's spent a lot of energy pushing out new leaves that we're just going to cut off. So let's do it at this time of the year while the energy is still low, so that when it does push up that energy and that sap, it'll all go into new, fresh growth in order to give you lots of new flowers for next year. For the hydrangea paniculata, we're also going to prune it a little differently as well. We're not going to go through and take out the older stems and thin it that way. What we're going to do is reduce the entire height of the plant down to about the height of between our knees and our waist. And you can take all the stems back to about that same height. Again, this plant will push up lots of new growth from those stems that you have cut off. So even if you don't see any stems growing from the ones that you've cut, that's okay. There's buds in the sides of the stems that will push out, become new shoots, and of course those will be the ones that will bear the flowers for next year. Now there's one thing to think about when you're cutting back, and that is to look for buds if you can find them, and you can see them right here on either side of this branch. New growth will come from those buds, so it's smart to cut back to just above the buds and on a slight angle. If you cut too close to the buds risk dying out. If you cut too high above the bud, then you have a bit of wood that just ends up dying, and that can cause some problems with disease. So cut back just above a bud and you'll be safe. Just keep working your way around the shrub until you get all of the branches cut back to somewhere between your knees and your waist. And it seems a bit brutal, but actually the plant will thank you by pushing out lots of new growth, and on those new flowers, which will look great. Well, that's all for this edition of In the Garden. Thanks for watching, and keep tuning in for more tips on how to make your garden a better place. Until then, I'm Benjamin Carroll.